What's good, everybody? Welcome to NXT Post Show for BODYSLAM.net. You got your boy Throwback with one of the originals. Oh my
Hang
God!
on,
All
hang on, wait a
hail!
minute. Hang on. This isn't my AEW show with oh, I'm sorry. I'm in the wrong thing. Sorry.
Oh, thanks. He is the reigning, defending, undisputed, Wicked Crazy Pinfalls podcast community champion. He is going against Bad Blood at Survivor Series War Games. The one and only Mr. Drew Nicholas. What's good, bud? How you doing? Or if my son was on my lap, be like Uncle Drew. Let's just do that.
That's fine. Uncle Drew works. Uncle Drew is not Uncle Howdy like elsewhere in WWE. Uncle Drew is doing pretty well. Had a long day today, and then he said, "You know what? I participated in the Halloween Havoc watch along on BODYSLAM. I wasn't watching Halloween Havoc on the watch along for Halloween Havoc,
Oh, yeah.
but I was there, so I know of a couple of decisions that happened. I don't remember them all, but you'll clue me in on what I'm forgetting. And then I decided, you know what? Let me actually watch NXT tonight, and I actually did watch NXT tonight.
And it's
Against
been
my
a bit since both
doctor's
of us been on.
wishes for my health and well-being. And I said, you know what? I'm doing this for Throwback tonight. And I did it. I'm still alive. And my eyes are suffering a little bit because of it, but we'll get there when we get there.
If you notice, like Sean Ross Sapp would say, he's shooting softly about NXT right now.
That's a good point.
Halloween Havoc for me was pretty good. I love that they were doing the slow burn storyline with Wesley after the whole thing with MSK that happened and just building him up bit by bit by bit. And I love that the payoff is great. I'm going to go straight into the middle of that segment where he's in the ring thanking everybody. I thought it was funny with Waller and Truth. I literally thought Truth comes out in the Joker outfit thinking Halloween Havoc's today, and it wasn't.
Truth saved that segment.
Yeah, he did. Because West literally was just so in awe at how much love he was getting. And Waller just still being a royal dick half the time. Which is his character. That's what he's supposed to do. He's supposed to do that stuff where it makes him as a heel. You absolutely just hate him, and that's what he's supposed to do.
It's just not that for me, though. I just don't want him to be on television.
It's just a good thing because of the fact that you create another match next week with Truth, but it's going to end up being Waller and Lee for Lee's first defense at what they just announced is called Deadline in December for another NXT show. They just had Halloween Havoc, so
it's like it's not even like holiday themed or anything. It's called
Deadline, which is weird. Yeah.
Oh, it could have been Halloween themed a little bit. Dead.
Yeah.
But
for me, the Truth saved it, like you said, but it made really good sense to give Lee, the way to say, hey, thank you and all that stuff. You give him his time and stuff. But we got Truth versus Waller. This is shades of AJ versus Waller. One of like a big name from the main roster going after Grayson Waller. I mean, who do you think else they're going to put in front of Waller to make him like wake up and see that, hey, you need to be a lot better than you think you are?
So, I know Lee, first of all, one of the highlights of Halloween Havoc is Wesley winning the North American Championship. Very happy about that. He is a wonderful, wonderful person. Been a fan of his for a while. Knew him from before NXT. and just that was the right call. That was the right call. Carmelo Hayes should be main roster bound, in my opinion. If they're not doing him for the unless they're saving him for the NXT championship, totally fine. Totally fine with that. I feel like he should be NXT champion before going to main roster because of how much he carried NXT on his damn back this year and was one of the while I don't really watch NXT, Carmelo Hayes is legitimately like a star and deserves to be the champion of that brand 100%. Um, that could be what ends up happening next week, as we know Braun Breaker will be showing up next week. So maybe Carmelo Hayes will come out and confront him in similar fashion to Grayson Waller confronting Wesley. You know, Grayson Waller lost last Saturday, so that's a bit strange, but that's how it works in wrestling sometimes.
I
So
think it's funny he was trying to retcon the whole match with Apollo. I technically won, so technically I'm 1-0 against Apollo. No, you lost. You were thrown in that casket, dude, and it was close. Yeah, you lost.
yeah,
It's gonna be one of those things where they're gonna have to pigeon toe everything, because with Breaker coming back next week, you might end up having a triple threat match at some point where you're gonna end up having Breaker. If they do this before, if they do an NXT championship match before Survivor Series, Breaker could be that mystery, team member for War Games and stuff. I have a feeling they were going to ask Ciampa, but he's hurt, I guess. So, for a match on the main roster, I I really am excited for Wesley. I want to see what they do with him from this point on. It might be just as I hate to say this, but as much as great the story is, he might just be a holder for somebody else. Kind of like what they did, sadly, with Sikoa, which still to me boggles my mind. You have a golden egg right there to go between brands, and you literally didn't do jack shit with it. And elevate your brand itself. But it makes sense to have Lee hold it until they have somebody else they're building up. It it's just fun to see something that WWE actually does, and it actually pays off. And even though with the circumstances, the way things happened with him, you know, it literally goes leaps and bounds to his character, but also WWE saying, hey, we have something here where we can push it very, very slowly and very, very, methodically. And it paid off at Halloween Havoc. But God, truth in that Joker mask is so funny.
that was really good. I'd heard that he was on Raw yesterday with The Miz. I didn't see the segment, but um, he's just a funny guy, and I'm really happy that he's back on TV.
And it's good to have him down in NXT too, because he could, even though he's down there, he could teach a few things to people too. The tag matches happened today. We had the TikTok champions against, as Bad Blood would call them, Carter and Katana versus Zoe Stark and Nikita Lyons. This match was completely weird. It starts off really good and fast paced and very physical, and then it's like literally a car stopping on an interstate and literally just looking over. Trust me, that actually has happened to me recently. But
So,
and it just,
go ahead.
that weird mid ending didn't make any sense. I mean, why are you going to stop a match in the middle of it because of a tag?
So
Doesn't make
I'm, if anybody here is new who happens to watch this or something, you've never seen me on BODYSLAM before and you've either only watched NXT or maybe you've watched some Raws or whatever that I'm not part of, I'm generally on with the Roundtable Pro Wrestling Podcast on Fridays. And this past Friday, I said that even though I was really excited and hyped up for Triple H taking over creative for main WWE and overseeing all of that in WWE as a whole, um, I still have not actively been watching the shows. Like, it's kind of I couldn't really put my finger on why, um, but then I figured it out over the weekend. And then listen, yes, I did mention at the top of the show that I do have an AEW show elsewhere with Love Wrestling. That does not make me a shill, so don't come at me calling me a shill because look
Or
what's behind me. Look what's behind me. I have an AEW chair right there on the bottom. I don't know how to point with these StreamYard things. I have an AEW chair there. I have an AEW action figure there. But look what I got right there. I got the WWE Championship, the Universal Championship. I have an NXT Championship back when, NXT was the NXT that everybody actually enjoyed. I just went to Extreme Rules. There's a chair to prove it. I was at that show, and Bray Wyatt is fucking awesome. Having said all that, I still can't be asked to watch the main roster or NXT. And I think it's because, and I think I figured it out, and it was really highlighted in this first match. I cannot stand the booking decisions made in the big moments. These weird wins for people who don't deserve them. The people who, I mean, well, I won't say deserve, but just like for the storyline purpose. This match is being restarted because of an unseen tag. What?
yeah,
That
it
doesn't even
absolutely
make
didn't
sense.
make any sense.
It doesn't even make sense. You just give Nikita and Zoe the titles. No problem. I have no problems with that. Fine. I don't really care about Casey and what's the other one's name? I forgot.
Kaden.
Caden, right? Caden. I don't care about them. Otherwise, I would have known both of their names. But it's just like, what are you doing? Why are we doing these weird decisions? It's like, toxic attraction. This stuff has got to end already. And I was saying that when I was on the show with you months back.
Mm-hmm.
And look where we are now.
A year later, Andy's reign. Yeah.
Yeah. What are we doing? What are we doing? That's got to stop. And you know what? It just feels like, it doesn't feel like NXT has progressed since their big SummerSlam show. Really. It feels like it's just the same show. The same stuff is going on.
It
Same
fluctuates.
champions. It's just weird.
It is, but it fluctuates and stuff. And also the influx of the British the UK talent that's coming in gives it a little bit of injection, kind of like, I'm not going to say biggest injection as Damage Control showing up at SummerSlam, but it helps to get matches like stateside you don't see. Like tonight, you saw Dragunov versus McDonough, and that match ended the way it did. You got certain infusions and stuff, but I think after everything in the show tonight, because we'll get more in depth into it, I think the schism is what people are going to be talking about. That and the whole script segment, because of the trademark thing that was released out. I think I read it today that WWE's trademark that said either today or yesterday. It's just the show. This show for a show coming off as a good show as Halloween Havoc, in my opinion, kind of dropped a ball. Like I said, if I was just a casual fan, I'd just be like, "Oh, great, this show was great," and then what happened, kind of thing.
Yeah.
It did set up a good amount of things, but going forward, but when is it going to pay off is the question, because everybody's so self-gratification sometimes they just don't understand that you got to wait and see how it goes.
And the big problem for me is that none of the stuff, literally nothing that happened on this show tonight makes me want to tune into NXT next week. Nothing. Nothing at all.
Makes me feel sad considering I like watching this and everybody's like, why? I said this on the watch along and I really feel it. I'm on an island of, they said Roman's on the island of relevancy. I'm on the island of irrelevancy because of the fact that people tell me all the time, why do you watch it? And NXT for me is fun. It's great to watch something. It's, something different. Instead of watching main roster stuff, you get to see certain things beforehand. And I like the fact that Joe Gacy and Schism is doing something completely different than usual. We've seen the formula, yes, but like you had, the faction with Eric Young and Nikki Cross and stuff.
Sanity.
Beforehand, but this is something a little different because of the fact that, for one thing, you have a big person name in the middle of that, so it has shades of her father doing the same thing. And let's get Ava Raine, aka is the Dwayne the Rock Johnson's daughter,
Right.
has joined Schism and made her NXT debut on television. I'm interested to see what they do with her in Schism because, like, she is set up to do something good, but let's see if they do pull the trigger on something. I could see her being NXT champion within about 5-6 years. But I mean, right now, I think she's getting her feet wet and starting to perform and wrestle eventually. But it's just the crowd was like, "Holy crap!" And they knew who she was. They knew what branch of family she was. So I
Yes,
mean,
some people were chanting Rocky. I heard them.
yeah. And I have a feeling we're going to end up getting a bloodline member eventually on that if things go down the road, if this bloodline on the main roster is going on there. I know it won't, but still, it's interesting to have that
Look at
idea
what
in
they
your
did with
head.
Solo Sikoa. You think they're going to do something with Ava Raine?
Hey, you never know.
It's so Ava Raine, Rock's daughter, making her television debut tonight. Cool. Why would Schism? They're so terrible.
But still, I mean,
Joel Gacy, aka Joe Pearl's alter ego on NXT, our friend Joe Pearl. It's just bad. Like, I could not get into it. I was kind of keeping up with NXT around SummerSlam. I think I had just stopped doing the shows with you around then, or maybe a little bit before that. It's just like it's so blah. It's so blah. It really is. And I didn't even know that they were calling themselves Schism until the show. What an awful name. I would never want to be like, I am Schism.
It's actually a good song from Tool too, but that's neither here nor there.
Not their theme song, unfortunately. But it's just, I don't know. It just like I really got sour on the Joe Gacy weird cult leader / spooky person with druids thing months ago with the kidnapping of Braun Breaker's father and that stupid weird stuff that they were doing. That feud went on way too long, and poor grizzled young veterans. God bless them. Like,
I give them props for going with it at least. They could have just turned around and said no. But I think, like I said, the major thing is that you have You could set up as much as this is crazy a season. This is just shooting high hopes. You could always have like The Rock just pop in for a second, and while he's there visiting her, and just say something just to get her off. But that is a long shot. That is a pipe dream.
It's it's like, you wanna say a long shot, it's like it's it's as long as, like, China from here. That's how long the long shot is.
But I can't wait to see what she does. uh, I can't wait to see what they do with her. For one
That
thing,
I am
if it
interested in. I'm like, "Okay, you know what? Ava Raine making her debut, she's already got, some hype behind her, obviously, for obvious reasons." So, okay, so Schism. They picked Schism. Fine. Let's see what happens there. So, I can't be negative. I can't be too negative on it. It's literally her first night in the on television. So maybe she ends up booting Joe Gacy and becoming the leader or something. I mean, who knows? We'll see what happens with that.
anything could really happen. I mean, to me, besides Bray, for me, it was like, who the hell is in that mask the whole time? Because they were hinting at it a few from the start, and just like, who the heck? I kept wanting to know who the hell is in that hood behind that mask, and we finally find out, and the payoff is like, okay, so now what's next? We had the other tag team match today, also pretty deadly, versus Noah Frey and Malik Blade. It was very entertaining, but it's kind of hard to take it serious.
I do not like Pretty Deadly.
You've said that multiple times.
I just don't get it. I don't get it at all. The yes boy thing. What what does that even mean? And then they're like lovers-ish in some sense, that they like putting them like their faces close together like they did on their backstage thing before the match. They're like they get, like, really close, like, "Oh," and then they've been in bed together, and it's like, "What are we doing?" Now, that sounded a little homophobic, but let me clue you in on something.
Mr. Married Man.
To a man.
Yeah.
Trust me, there's no homophobia here. So, I'm just saying, like Idris and Malik, I like them. I liked them when they first came on to NXT, um, earlier this year. It was like, I think it was around, like, March or April, whatever it was. Um, they're cool. I think they have, I didn't like the one of them having, like, the hots for Mandy Rose back then, but obviously they dropped that, so that's nice. Um, and I think that they're very good wrestlers. I enjoyed, so like I said before, the wrestling is generally not going to disappoint me. So, of course, they're gonna have a good match. It's just, like, pretty deadly, so I don't really care. I'm sure they're great people, them, pretty deadly themselves, the men. Uh, but I just can't get into that, unfortunately. So it just becomes like, okay, I'm watching a match where they're incredibly flamboyant for some reason and have a very weird fashion sense, and they look like 2 Lord Farquaads. I've said that I'm in. Like, they both one looks like a blonde Lord Farquaad, and the other one looks like Lord Farquaad. I wish we had a picture to show. I should get, Bad Blood to do that for me. But yeah, match was fine. It had a better ending than the first tag match, that's for sure. Um, so yeah, what'd you think about it?
I liked how it went back and forth. You saw that Onofre and Blake had the ability to go the extra mile. They could hang with both of them and push each other to limits. I liked how it was so many close near falls too, because it made you like want to be at your edge of your seats. But I think Pretty Deadly won this, but I honestly believe that Onofre and Monique Blade deserve another shot at it, and I think that's what's going to change. I like the combination from Blade and Onofre of the diamond cutter slash kind of like a zigzag combination where they just basically does a cutter and the other one does like a jumping DDT, or I don't know, whatever you want to call it. But that was very innovative. There was a lot of great moves in this match. Overall, it was okay. It wasn't like, oh my god, I have to rewatch that. But still, it was a good match overall in the base and stuff like that. Um, but I think for me, the match of the night was Dragunov and McDonough. Like, after all the promos and stuff like that, we had an Indy Hartwell match. That was okay. Not much really to say. Indy won, so. And then we had the Shotzi match against Lash Legend. Now, a lot of people are not great with Lash Legend. I have no opinion of that. What she does in the ring.
Neither do I.
I still don't know what they're doing with her. But nostalgia-wise, it was awesome to see Shotzi back in NXT and stuff. And I hope that if she decides to go back in NXT, they actually take it serious to give her a title shot. And that would be awesome, having her hold that NXT title for a while. But you knew as soon as like Shotzi was in the ring, you knew that Shotzi was going to win.
Being my first time watching NXT in months, I would have liked to have seen Quincy in the ring instead of just very quickly announcing Shotzi and then doing a very fast thing outside to interrupt, interfere or whatever. And then that's it. He's off the show. That's over. I would have liked to have seen him wrestle or do something besides be on TV for collectively like
10 seconds, it felt like.
Yeah, probably it was even less than 60 seconds. But yeah, this match happened. So what was next?
And then we got the main event, Ilya Dragunov versus JD McDonough. Oh my god, this match was insane. That finish with that submission looked like it absolutely like hurt.
So
I know submissions are not like, they don't sink them in as hard, but that physically, the stretching on that and stuff, it looked very painful.
I wish that I could say, like, I know I've been very negative and I apologize for that. JD Mick, don't Google me. He will never live that name down. Like, I will always call him that from now on. Thank you, Kevin Owens. Yeah. I don't care about him at all. His head is like 4 times too big for his body. And this is another character. It's like JD, like, don't Google me, and Joe Gacy were so wrapped up in the main event picture of NXT for like months. Boring. I'm sorry. Like their characters. Maybe I would say probably Joe Gacy's character has evolved a bit and probably is a little bit better since the SummerSlam show. But JD came out, I think, right after the SummerSlam show.
Yeah, he did.
And was sitting in the crowd and talking about body parts and like, what the fuck are we doing? Jesus Christ.
Mm-hmm.
So if you never were introduced to JD before that, why do you give a shit? Really? Like,
I just like how physical the match was overall. I like the fact
So
that
that's fine. Like the match was very physical. I liked them doing the really super babyface stuff with Dragunov, and he does that perfectly. Like picture perfect. He is an excellent at that. The hard hitting stuff, wonderful. JD taking advantage of the ribs and him being injured on the outside. Good stuff. That was good stuff. I do agree with you. This was the match of the night.
yeah,
Absolutely.
and the torpedo finisher that Dragunov does, getting caught into a submission and stuff, with showing how Dragunov did not tap his, and then saying Vic Joseph saying his body gave out. It shows that they're going to have another match soon. Not if it's soon, it's probably going to be at Deadline, or Headline, or whatever they're calling it. But it's got to be one of those matches. They have to do another one. They did one in the UK. They did one here, and I want to see a third one. And I wanted to be let them go all out and let it be at a takeover too. I mean, that's pretty much NXT in a nutshell for about 30 minutes. That's how it
Was
is
there nothing else?
tonight.
Was that it?
Well, you had Script doing a vignette talking about how he's going to like destroy NXT and stuff. He or she.
Oh, I had a question. Maybe you can help me with this. Who was the guy that was driving the truck with the women that Idris and Malik went into?
He was in the breakout tournament. I forget his name, but he got hurt and had like a couple of knee issues or something like that. But that was like in January or February that happened. But other than that, the script segment where whoever the person is calls, you call the performance center's phone number and stuff and leave a message.
The Chase U thing happened with
Yeah.
Duke.
Well, that's why it's like Duke being in there. It was like Duke goes back to school, Brody leaves. You're going to have a match between Duke and Brody and whoever is the one.
Yeah,
It's going to be
I
one of
mean,
those
that's
gimmick
kind of
matches where it's just going to be dumb.
it's silly. Whatever. It's not like anything that I'm guaranteeing you that if Andre Chase ever moved up to the main roster, none of this Chase University stuff is following him. I'm like almost certain of that.
I don't think they have the room on the main roster between both of them.
If it did, I'm just saying. And then also the Creed brothers thing happened too.
How they got jumped by Veer and Sangha.
Totally forgot that Veer was on NXT now, by the way.
That's gonna be like an awesome match because they're both extremely physical and stuff. I want to see that soon. I would love to see it with stakes eventually, but that is going to be a good match when they do it. But
yeah,
that's pretty much NXT in a nutshell. So, I mean, I figured 30, 35 minutes we were going to get into it because they tried cramming everything in 2 hours or so. So, other than that, we might as well end it on a high note. All right, but tell them where they can find you.
You can find me on Twitter, as you see below, at Big Money Drew. I do a Roundtable Pro Wrestling podcast with Bad Blood and Chemical Julian and Shane Husky, generally on Fridays. Right here on BODYSLAM, and I have an AEW show, firmly AEW, on Love Wrestling's Twitch at Love Wrestling CA, and go check all that stuff out, including this guy who's got a channel and a show called Wicked Crazy Pinfalls, which I am the champion of, and I'll be facing my co-host for that soon. That's going to be a very, very interesting turn of events.
Other than that, every Tuesday night, as we've been trying to do NXT post show here for BodySlam.net, go to the site, support the great people here at BodySlam. Cassidy, go hit up Jameis, Rami, and the many people who write all these articles, Corey, and go check out Tom Talks Rubbish too. All his stuff on his YouTube page also.
I did a show with Tom Talks Rubbish, as did you, and both shows were very good, and I highly recommend going and checking them out.
And every Thursday night, Wicked Crazy Pinfalls, we've been trying to do stuff. I'm probably going to end up, if there's not people available to do a show, I'm probably going to start doing gaming streams just to put some stuff out there. We are at 62 people on Twitch, so let's ride the wave and keep it going. So other than that, do a good deed, pay it forward. Brody, I love you, bud. It's going to be a really crazy time the next month or so. Also, lack of sleep's kicking in, so have a good night. Bye, guys.
Good night.